Okay, sorry, Sandy. Now you're on.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sandy Bomik, State Broadband Director here at Arizona Commerce Authority. I wanted to introduce Parla Lopez to you all. She's my colleague at our broadband team, and recently, 1.5 months ago, she joined the team as a broadband program manager. So, going forward, Parla or I will be attending AZBSN call every single week and update you all about our progress on BEAD planning and digital equity planning. So having saying that, let's welcome Parla. And Parla, please introduce yourself. And she has some quick update for you all. And we'll be happy to take any question after that.
Sounds great. And then Michelle will get to you as quickly as possible.
Awesome. Thank you, Sandeep. Hi, everybody. My name is Perla Lopez. I'm with the Arizona Commerce Authority. As Sandeep mentioned, I'm the broadband program manager. Firstly new in my role, and a few updates that we have. Like Sandeep said, next week we are posting for public comment our initial proposal, volume 1. We will share a link with Steve so that he can share it with all of you. We are also working on the digital equity for public comments that'll be posted in January. The digital equity plan, we're currently also advertising for a digital equity position. And then as well, we have ABDG. We're currently meeting with contractors and getting together with them to put together a compliance requirements for our subrecipients. And on November 16th, Crystal and I, who is our GIS analyst, will be speaking at a venture cafe. That'll be announcements for that will be posted later on in the month of October on where the location is at and at what time everything will start. So I'll keep everybody posted on the next meeting with that one. But we'll be speaking about the broadband and the history of broadband in the state of Arizona, as well as what we're doing currently with the BEAD program. And as well, Candace will be joining us soon, who is our tribal liaison in the future, who will speak about tribal engagement that we're having in the state as well. And that's all the updates that I have. Thank you so much for allowing me to join.
Thank you, Perla. So just quickly, can you explain exactly what your job is versus other people in the office? What the broadband manager position is, which is of course different than Sandeep's job. So could you explain that just real briefly?
Of course. I work very closely with our contractors. I make sure that there's a project flow and that we're all collaborating effectively to move all the ongoing requirements for the BEAD plan. And I work alongside with Sandeep and very closely with Sandeep when it comes to making sure that all of our tasks are moving forward with the BEAD plan and we are following all the requirements as well.
Great. Thank you very much. Glad you could join us this morning, and we look forward to your continued participation with us. So with that, I want to move on quickly because it's very great. Whoops, this is the wrong screen. Let me get rid of this. Stop share. And go back to share screen. This is the one. That's better. Whoops, that's not it either. What is going on here? Okay, sorry, give me just a second here, and then I will get back to you. There we go. This should be it. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to jump into our next. We're pleased to have Michelle Simon here again. Michelle did a brief introduction last time, and I wanted to give her more time to give us a brief update. I know she's got to be out of here pretty soon, but Michelle is with the Pima County Library, and I'll let her introduce herself, and also a new Pima County department that's been formed, and she is the executive director. And so with that, Michelle, I'm going to just turn it over to you. You need to share?
Yes, I do. Please.
I will stop then.
All
Okay.
right. Well, good morning, everybody. Usually when I'm participating in this meeting, I'm on my telephone as I'm driving to work. So you usually don't see my face. So here I am, Michelle Simon. I am currently serving in two roles. I am the Deputy Director of Support Services for the Pima County Public Library, and I oversee collection development and technical services and technology and budget and finance and just facilities. I oversee a lot of things. And now, as a result of all the work with Connect Pima, which I know many of you have heard on and or participated with over the last few years, I have been designated the very first director of our newly formed Office of Digital Inclusion in Pima County. So I'm very excited about that role. It fits well with everything that I do at the library and how the library helps our community as it relates to digital literacy and access to tools and resources. So it is really the next logical step to making things better in our community. So I want to present to you just real quickly some information about Connect Pima and the federal grant that we received from NTIA as part of the Enabling Middle Mile Broadband Infrastructure Program.
Michelle, if I can interrupt for 1 second.
Go for
Michelle
it.
has done a yeoman's job in providing the leadership to getting to this plan and this new office and all that kind of stuff. So again, Michelle, good job and congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Let us do a slideshow here. Let me make sure it comes up that way. Oh. All right. Well, we don't want to start at the end, do we? We want to start at the beginning.
Well, I don't know.
Okay. Hold on. I'm sure I'm not doing this the best way. So, hey, it's me. There I am. Okay, Connect Pima is the county's, it's actually the county's digital infrastructure and inclusion action plan. And so we have a mission, that pie in the sky mission, to make sure every single person in Pima County has affordable, reliable, high-speed internet and the tools they need so that they can participate in our, I mean, it says society and economy, of course, because this is your high-level mission statement. But really our more and more virtual world, the simple things that we have to do that that are all online, that as someone who can afford internet or someone who has a computer, it's easy to take to think about, oh, well, can't everyone do that? No, not everyone in our community has the ability to do this. And it's not just because they have they live in areas of low socioeconomic standards. We have places in our county where the most affluent communities don't have reliable internet access due to geography, mountains, valleys, and lack of infrastructure in our county because it is extremely rural. We use a three-pronged approach to digital inclusion, so by developing broadband infrastructure, really fortifying and pushing forward digital literacy initiatives, and increasing access to devices and tools for connectivity. And the NTIA shows large swaths of Pima County and Metro Tucson with broadband rates below the FCC minimum standard. Now, the FCC minimum standard is 25.3. As part of this grant opportunity that I will speak to you about, we are actually focused on 100 megabits download and 25 megabits upload. And if we're able to accomplish what we are, the middle mile ring that we will be building will have the capacity to allow final mile providers to give 1 gig simultaneous or even 2 gigs simultaneous, because there will be that much bandwidth available to them. I will provide this link. I'll provide the report to Steve so you all can look at the information that is in the report here. Basically, 85% of the households in Pima County have broadband of some type, 12% have no access to internet, and 8% are lacking the device that they need. Additionally, we have, I want to make sure you can see this before I talk. Do you guys see the screen that says Connect Pima Dashboard? Somebody
No,
say yes.
not yet.
No? No? Okay.
No.
So we're gonna just close that and go back to the PowerPoint. If you can't see it, usually in this, for whatever reason, the links don't want to show up. Again, I'll provide this to Steve so that he can, you guys can click on the link. That dashboard provides all the data and demographics for the entirety of Pima County, including information that is important to the feed plan with the community anchor or institutions, as well as an overlay of FCC maps. Digital inclusion, we're referring to all the activities necessary to ensure that all people have access to and use of information and communication technologies. And so we want to make sure that we have affordable, robust broadband all over, that people have the computers or tools that they need in the format that they need. So this is a focus on accessibility as well. And then digital literacy training, not just in English, in the languages that individuals need, and making sure that those accessibility tools are available when trying to learn how to use a computer. Quality technical support. I have to give credit to the state library for the digital navigators and the technology support line that they put forward. All libraries provide technology support in some way, shape, or form, but the state library really has stepped up the game by providing that kind of support, and we will help to kind of further that effort here in Pima County. And then also helping people to fill out applications for ACP or whatever subsidies that they qualify for, so that they can get affordable access in their home. That's what the point of all of this is helping people to be self-sufficient. So we have a digital divide issue. We are trying to create equity, but digital inclusion is the work that makes all of this go. So one of the things that has happened for Pima County is that we applied for the Enabling Middle Mile Broadband Infrastructure Grant. I have to say thank you to Community Broadband Advocates and Karen Ziegler for helping us make this a reality. The project is a $43.3 million fiber optic ring that will go around the outskirts of Pima County's urban core. It is 134 miles in length, and the feds gave us $30.3 million to make this happen. So about $13 million of that is coming from local funds or in-kind contributions, either from Pima County itself or other local municipalities. The project is 5 years in length, and it started on July 1. The majority of our upfront work has to do with compliance as it relates to the National Environmental Policy Act and the National Historic Preservation Act. Literally, we have to create a plan of action as it adheres to these policies, and make sure it's approved before we can put one shovel in the ground to dig anything. So we are right now in the stages of doing procurement for companies to confirm our right-of-way for the ring, and to make sure that our route is set, so then we can do the procurement for someone to design and build the ring itself. We will be starting to send out those proposals probably in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So if you know anybody that's interested in that kind of thing, they should be on the lookout for it, and they should register as a vendor with Pima County. Because if they register as a vendor and their information is in there, then the commodity code will trigger a notice for them. Okay. The fiber optic ring, 134 miles, starts, I'll just start up here. It goes Marana over to Oro Valley, all the way down over here to the east side of town, and out into the Vale area, down into Sahuarita, and back up and over to 3 Points and back up to Marana. So it is quite large. This ring will allow for, if you pick a point and draw a radius of 25 miles, at any point, it will serve ISPs to provide that final mile connection to homes in those areas. So literally, this ring will reach out even down into Santa Cruz County and parts of Cochise County, allowing for additional internet access to homes. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. All the federal funding that is coming our way, it is going to make a significant difference for Pima County. Our digital infrastructure and inclusion action plan is formatted in such a way that it ties to the state's, I'm going to stop sharing. It ties to the state's current broadband plan, looks at best practices, as you will find on the National Digital Inclusion Alliance website, as well as, I don't know if any of you have taken a look at the state equity scorecards, looking at what we should be paying attention to as a state and the best practices for the National Association of Counties as it relates to how counties should be providing broadband. So we have a robust strategic plan with goals, objectives, and we've had great committees that have worked on these efforts for the last 2 years. And those committees will continue to do so really as community, like a community advisory committee to how we will continue to move things forward. So just because we've established an Office of Digital Inclusion doesn't mean, okay, we don't need anybody's help. No, now more than ever, we need everyone's input. We need to engage and have those conversations. So we will, after the first of the year, start doing community listening sessions and really going to all different parts of Pima County and doing those both in English and in Spanish. I encourage everyone to take a look at our website because we have updated it and it looks fabulous. And you will see lots of information about Pima County and what we're doing, as well as projects like our Hotspots Around Town project. And there's a whole app where you can find out where those hotspots are in the community. We will be promoting that heavily during Digital Inclusion Week. So plug for Digital Inclusion Week, October 2nd through the 6th. If you have stuff going on, please let NDIA know that you have stuff going on. And we will also be having a proclamation from the Board of Supervisors on October the 3rd at their October the 3rd meeting, declaring the week National Digital Inclusion Week, Digital Inclusion Week in Pima County. So very excited about all the things happening. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer or, or call on some people that I see in this meeting that can actually talk about some of the work that they've been doing as part of Connect Pima.
Great, Michelle. Any questions or comments for Michelle? Going once, going twice. So I've said, I'm sorry. Hi, Mignon. Was that you?
I think so. I'm driving, so I apologize.
Okay.
I was going to say, Steve, this is Lucy Howell. I was curious, how many counties in Arizona kind of have this full, coverage mile capability in the next 4 years? Like, are we the only one, or are there other counties that have this similar type of grant to show full coverage like this?
This type of grant, Pima County is the only one in the state of Arizona that got this grant. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't projects that are happening in other counties. Example, Mesa has a project where they're doing a ring around the city of Mesa. Yuma County is doing a project actually using funds from the ACA to make that happen. So there are projects happening all over the state. ADOT is focusing on I-40, I-17, and I-19. So it's going to help connect the entirety of the state. I think the thing that is important about Pima County's ring is that it will actually provide opportunity to both Santa Cruz County and Cochise County to connect, and it will provide kind of a robust network for internet service providers as a result.
Interesting. So then in 5 years, when we're all covered because of this beautiful ring that will then be maintained, then do residents and citizens still have to pay for like their out-of-pocket Wi-Fi, or is it kind of like this magic force field that now Pima County will give
Yeah,
access?
I wish. The ring is middle mile.
Got it.
Okay. So it is from the internet all the way around. So now the internet service providers, really, they don't have to spend the significant amount of money to build that middle mile to get to some of our neighborhoods. Okay. So, you know, it's a return on investment thing. Aver Valley, you have one house per 3 to 5 acres, where in the center of Tucson, you have 10 houses in 1 acre, right? And so it is beneficial for them to build in the more populous areas. Well, this Wi-Fi, this internet, what am I trying to say? This infrastructure ring will actually take away the excuse of it costs us a lot to get there, all right? And because it will be owned by Pima County, that cost for using the ring will stay static. It will not go up. So if it's owned by an internet service provider, potentially they can raise the cost and pass that on to customers. The cost for building this ring will not be passed on to customers. We will basically contract with a company to do the operations, maintenance, and commercialization of the ring. And what will happen is internet service providers or municipalities will pay to lease the fiber that's available through the ring.
Awesome explanation. Thank you. I now know the difference, and that was the missing part for me. So perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So Lucy, I have told Michelle on many occasions, and this group on many occasions, that Pima County is really a great example of looking at addressing both the broadband and connectivity issues as well as digital equity. And the fact that they have created this new office is really a testament to that commitment to deal with both digital equity as well as broadband. And they've included that in their part of their planning from the get-go.
And no,
JT?
you know me, I'm always wanting to know where Pima County sits comparatively in the state and then in the country. And so if we're a leadership role, you know, go Arizona, go Tucson.
So JT, you have your hand up?
I do. Congratulations, Pima County.
Thank you.
And congratulations, Michelle. I heard you talk about middle mile and how you are going to build your ring. And I feel the need to share with not just you, but other grant recipients, BEAD recipients, ARPA, and other NTIA sources of funding, that this, again, is a once in a lifetime opportunity for the state, for the nation, right? And so it's incumbent upon those of us that have been entrusted with these funds to get from it the most that we can. And why do I say that? Well, the ring that you talk about is a perfect example of an asset that will benefit Pima County and, as you said, surrounding counties. So therefore, that ring needs to be designed in a particular way, right? And so when you put out your RFCs or RFIs, it is my hope that you will have expert guidance in determining what the requirements of your ring are, right? And the folks that are doing that are qualified to do it. So for example, there's going to be a determination, you need to make a determination of, and I'm going to get a little technical, how many fibers are in your ring? What's the architecture of your ring? How many ducts through which you pull fibers? What type of fiber? What kind of optics are in the network? Because you could build a network today that will serve you today, but with the money that you have and the opportunity that we have, we need to build networks that will serve us today, tomorrow, and beyond, because there may not become, there may not be another opportunity. So the applications that you think you have today are maybe not the applications that you are going to have tomorrow. And I'll just give a few examples. A lot of cities are talking, and here in Arizona, we just had last week the smart cities thing, right? Smart cities require a great deal of bandwidth and a particular architecture in the network to support them. So if you intend to provide services to cities, counties, and other communities, the network needs to be able to support that. And so my wish and hope for everyone is that you take these things into consideration when you put your RFIs out, and your RFPs and your RFQs, and your vendors are qualified in building those types of networks, not just today's legacy networks, but tomorrow's future networks, because economic development, telehealth, education, all sorts of things are going to depend on it and require massive amounts of bandwidth and the ability to support the necessary computing and communications infrastructure. That's my piece. I'm out.
Awesome. Well, thank you, GT. And I want to say your comments just make me feel good about what it is that we did. Team Fishel is who helped us create the initial design that is part of the grant package. We will be using microduct that has 7 ducts and 432 strands per duct. There is a lot of capacity in what it is we are planning to build, because you are correct. We are not just building for today. The goal is building for 5, 10, 20 years from now, so that we're not having to dig up the ground again. So I really appreciate all of those comments. They are just the type of comments that we had gathered when we initially created the grant, and we will continue to gather as we do the procurement for the design build.
And JT, Mark Goldstein, generally this is going to be a dark fiber lease under IRUs, indefeasible rights to use. So it's actually the last mile providers that will decide on the optoelectronics and the capacity needs for the fiber they lease, and will be able to evolve, you know, to dense wave division multiplexing and all at their own expense in their own time frame. So and I wrote several grants in that program and got 2 of them for clients. So it required a open access network and policy that's non-discriminatory and fair to multiple, you know, parties, basically all parties that are qualified. But the optoelectronics and how the fibers are used will be at the determination of the leasers. Sorry, the lessees, not the leasers.
Correct. Lessees, correct. I appreciate that, Mark. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I know Michelle's got to bug off here and got to head to another meeting. And any other quick questions or comments for her? If not, Michelle, thank you again. And again, congratulations and great job.
Thank you. And I put my email in the chat. If anybody thinks of something they want to ask, you're more than welcome to reach out. So you guys have a great day. Thanks for your time.
Great. Thanks, Michelle.
Bye.
So Ash, I want to get to you for your presentation in a few minutes. Do you need to drop off soon, or can you stay on for a few minutes? There's a few people I want to, some new people who have joined us today. I want to just give them a minute to introduce themselves.
No, I'm good on time, Steve.
Good. Okay, so several people that are on the call here that I wanted to introduce. So Crystal, I see that you're online. I didn't realize you were on earlier. Also with the broadband office. You want to just introduce yourself quickly, and then we expect to hear from you again in the future.
Yeah, that's fine. Sorry, I'm not camera ready just yet. So I'm Crystal with Arizona Commerce Authority. I am the broadband data and GIS analyst. So I work really closely with Perla and Sandeep and Karen.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks. And we look forward again to hearing from you in the future. So Tamara, you want to introduce yourself, please?
Thank you so much. My name is Tamara Rosenberg. I'm with Resound Networks, and we received an RDOF award in Arizona. And I'm actually based in New Mexico, but I cover Arizona and New Mexico. And I want to thank Heather Floyd for alerting me to this group and inviting me on. She's been a great resource. So thank you, Heather, for inviting me today.
Great. Welcome. And let's see, Mignon, you want to introduce yourself, please? I know you're driving, but I hope you're feeling better. I know you had a nasty
I
touch of COVID.
Yes, I did. Thank you. And thank you so much for the recommendation of the vitamins. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mignon Hollis. My day job is I'm the director of the Arizona Regional Economic Development Foundation. And in that role, I am right now working with the Benton Foundation on broadband for all. And really, we're focusing on access and affordability. Because even once we get it to people, for them to be able to afford it, average price is $200. In a lot of communities, $200 is just not affordable, and so we just want to make sure that we're having our ears to the ground about the affordability. And thank you so much for allowing me to introduce myself this morning.
You bet. And we, of course, need to chat some more about our collaboration and cooperation together.
Absolutely appreciate it.
You bet. So a couple of other people. So Reggie, I know you've been here before, but we haven't seen you in quite a while. You want to just say hello real quickly?
Yeah, I'm sick, so if I cough, sorry. Hello, Steve. Hello, everybody. My name is Reggie Carrillo. I'm the Microsoft Philanthropy Teals Regional Manager. And so I do work here in Arizona, New Mexico, and California, working with our high schools. My work entails advancing equitable access to computer science opportunities, so providing skills, courses, and support, again, at the high school level. I'm a former educator and current governing board member serving our oldest school district in the state. So as you can imagine with that experience, I've seen the digital divide, digital gaps play out in person with my students and the students that I serve. And so this is really close to my heart. And through that journey, tech, digital inclusion, inequities related to all that has become a passion of mine. So thank you for having me, and thank you all for coming together to work on these important issues for me, for our youth. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Reggie. And Ed, you want to introduce yourself? Ed Thiele and I go back, how many, too many years.
Back into the 70s.
Great to reconnect with you. And so do you want to introduce yourself briefly?
Yeah, thank you very much, Steve, and pleasure to be on the call with you all. Very excited about what you're doing. I'm an independent consultant at this time, caregiver background, marketing, working with a world famous neurologist, pioneer in telemed, and marketing guru. Our hope is to bring quality medical and psychosocial care to dementia patients and caregivers, particularly in rural areas, and even more particularly to the tribal reservations in the country. So we're working on getting that off the ground, and broadband is a real big part of connectivity with the telehealth, telemed. So look forward to forming some connections here and see what we can accomplish. Thank you, Steve.
You bet. Welcome, Ed. Good to see you and catch up with you again after all these years. And Philip, of course, you've been on the call before, but you seem to be popping up all over with the great work you guys are doing in Yuma. Do you want to just say hello real quickly?
Well, thanks, Steve. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm PJ Way. It says Philip, but I go by PJ. I'm the Yuma County's broadband program manager, and I'm sorry that Michelle left. I had a chance to have a conversation with her. I've met with Navajo County also. I know that the middle mile fiber projects are essential for our rural communities. We're making significant progress. We're about 70% complete with our fiber infrastructure, dark fiber infrastructure design in our first phase. Our second phase is going to take us out to the East Valley of Yuma County. And we expect to have all of this completed by December of 2024. I just received a $6 million grant from the governor's office that's going to utilize for specifically agriculture and supporting our ag tech in the farming industry. So, food security is national security, and if we can keep food on everybody's table, we're all succeeding. So that's some of the efforts here at the county, and it's going very, very well. I'm very pleased with everything we're doing. So thank you all so much, and thanks for the call out, Steve. I really appreciate it. There's a remarkable amount of talent and knowledge in this room, and I really love hearing everybody's perspective, what people are working on. And if there's any way that I can offer help or assistance or insight from experience that we've had, I'm happy to do so.
Great. Thanks, PJ. Good to have you back. So I want to move on and introduce Ash Black. Had the good fortune to run into him at an event, at an Arizona Technology Council event a week or two ago, and I put him on the spot to present already this morning, even though he's never participated with us in the past. But since everybody's talking about AI, I thought it was very timely for him to talk about the work he's doing and the AI efforts going on at the University of Arizona. So with that, Ash, I'm going to turn it over to you. Do you need to share or not? Or?
I think I'll probably share just straight up out here. I don't think I need share access. Thanks for having me in, Steve. Yeah, I'm looking forward to finding out so much more about what this task force is about, and Steve, following up on the conversation we had about the impact of all of this infrastructure coming into the university, into the state. I have to apologize. I just returned from the East Coast last night, which means that it's actually 11:30 in the morning to my body, but for some reason it still feels like 5:30. So I'm very confused at the moment. Let me bring up my little presentation, and I'll share with you all what we've been doing. So my name is Ash Black, and I am at the University of Arizona. I'm a lecturer in the business college. I teach entrepreneurship. And I am also an AI consultant with the Institute for Computation and Data-Enabled Insight at the University of Arizona. And I'm helping to, give me a second, they're good. Okay. And what I'm helping to do is to establish our industry outreach efforts. And I'd like to share with you all a little bit of what we've discovered this summer, what we're working on now. And I'll try to keep it, I hope, insightful, so that I'm just going to share what I've learned, what I think are the most salient bits about what we've learned in the last couple of months, and I hope that that's of use to everybody on the call. So we'll give it a shot.
If I can interrupt for 1 second, yeah. Ash. So one of the conversations that I had with Ash is there some opportunities with the work that they're doing for us to utilize some of the students with some of the projects that we're working on.
For sure.
So anyway, I'm sorry, Ash, go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll get to that. So today what I'd like to share with you is just a little bit about the Institute for Computation and Data-Enabled Insight. We go by ICDI. A little bit of what happened.
Ash, are you sharing your screen? You're not sharing your screen.
It should be behind me.
It is behind you, but we won't be able to see that.
If you make your view of Zoom speaker view when Ash is talking, it'll be big enough to see. I just had to do that.
Oh, is it too small?
It looks so cool behind you, but you've got to be in speaker view.
I have to. Oh no, you mean the?
No, we have to be. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Aaron. I'm going to stick with it, and we're going to do what Aaron said because my presentation's behind me, and I apologize if it's too small. But I'll try to keep it lively and quick. Actually, we don't have too much time. So a little bit about what's happened this summer, and then broadly the AI phenomenon itself and some of the key insights that I think are important that I would like for everybody who's in business or in development or dealing with bringing this into the state to have a couple of key pieces of information and insights in mind, and then share a little bit about what's happening in this year moving forward. And if we have time, a little Q&A. Otherwise, I can stick around. So the ICDI is a newly formed group. It's less than 2 years old. It is a non-academic institute within the research office. So we do workshops and outreach, and we educate, but we don't issue credit. Instead, what we do is we galvanize resources from across the university in our data science, computer science, information systems, and we're trying to organize them and catalyze them so that everybody can find each other, they can work more closely together, and importantly, with my work, that we can now outreach to the state, get out into the state and industry, because we want this to go beyond the boundaries of the university. The task force was formed this summer, and some of the highlights are that more than 70 faculty, students, and staff joined on in a volunteer way, which kind of gave a clue to how popular and impactful the topic of artificial intelligence had become, because there was just so many people over the summer who were willing to get involved. And it continues now in an academic year context, and it's now up to 400 individuals. Those are people from all across different parts of campus. Some are from our campuses in Phoenix, but who want to bring guidance to the AI phenomenon as it impacts the university and our society. One of the key highlights was that we made a lot of progress in syllabus guidance. So the University of Arizona is not caught flat-footed. It has policy for how we should take AI into the classroom. And then we have some fall events coming up. And then again, I mentioned my industry outreach and the need for communal dialogue, which is coming in the form of several town hall events. Steve, how are we doing? Is it going okay?
Good, you're fine.
Great. All right. So briefly, the working groups that were formed, and you can follow up if you like with any of these working groups: access and equity, communications, AI and data acumen, the events. My group is the industry group, integrity in education, syllabus guidance and training. Let me show you really quickly what the site looked like. That's Michelle's site. Hold on a second. I was just checking it out as she was talking. I think that should be good. Okay, so we have the Artificial Intelligence at University of Arizona website. And this is where we have our events that are coming up, and you can sign up and register there, as well as check out the workings of the working group, for example. So here we are, and then the steering committees, and you can find contact information and get involved with those groups if that's of interest to you. The key findings to share from that summer experience were that resistance to this new generative AI phenomenon is somewhat higher than enthusiasm. I think that's worth keeping in mind, that broadly across the spectrum of society, it seems that people know about ChatGPT, they know about generative AI, and for various reasons, resistance to the AI is a bit higher than the excitement for the AI, and that's kind of culture-wide. And students, we found, are more likely to have used or will use generative AI than faculty, although I don't think our faculty are laggards. It's just that the students got to it fast. The attitudes are shifting towards enthusiasm and curiosity, and it's very interesting to consider that once people begin to play with generative AI tools, if it's the image generators or the ChatGPT, if they haven't done it before, they tend to warm up pretty quickly because it can have such a rewarding experience, impact, returning results for you, and it can be quite chatty and friendly. So people seem to warm up to it, but it's worth noting that as a culture, people are a bit freaked out by this. There is a huge appetite for talking about it, and that's what motivated our town hall series, is to create dialogue. Are we doing okay on time?
Yeah, we're fine.
And then social disruption, or the potential for social disruption and job replacement, are among the top concerns. And I think it's funny because I explained to people that my job is to go find, ironically, how we can make jobs out of AI. So like I have to go make new jobs with AI. That's the problem that I'm wrestling with. And I'm really grateful for the chance to do it, but I will admit it's a head scratcher, because the artificial intelligence technology itself, it does things that human beings do. It does them well, particularly cognitive labor. We can get into that later. But the most important point is that what has happened recently is that ethics and regulation have become really front and center of almost every conversation, whether it's at the university, it seems to be happening at government level, and other parts of the world. So this is happening. There is an effort to regulate it. I want to show you real quick, and Steve, I'm going to have I'll put these slides. I'll share these slides if you like, so that people can follow up with the resources. But for example, there's this one group here which has emerged called the Center for AI and Digital Policy. And I really recommend, if you're interested in regulation discussions, and I mean globally, subscribe to their newsletter. It's very thick. It comes out once a week. It's a dense read, but there's just so much going on globally about efforts to regulate AI in all the countries of the world. And so that's kind of fascinating. If that's your thing, it's worth taking a look at that. And here's the slides the URLs. The insights that I would like to share most with you all, and I don't know what the technical level on the call is. I'm going to presume it's perhaps a spectrum from not very much to quite a bit. And I hope that this will be helpful to pretty much all of us. But we know that there's enormous we know that there's enormous investment into it in terms of just economic, the money, the tens or hundreds of billions of dollars that are being sunk into AI. So it's real. There is a tremendous amount of hype and a growing concern about it. I mentioned the regulatory environment, but something to keep in mind is that it's estimated that our compute power has increased by a factor of 10 every year since about 2010, that it has been growing like that. And it is expected to continue for at least another 3 to 5 years to grow at that rate. What that means is that the AI models that that are being built now could be 1,000 to 10,000 times larger within a few years than they are now. And so what this means is that we're kind of at a very special time, because one thing that's not understood well about the generative AI models like ChatGPT and Bard and the image generators is that they seem to learn things on their own just by sheer size. I think many of you might have heard that ChatGPT or GPT-4 taught itself all human languages, even though it wasn't trained on all human languages. It can infer it through its vast lexicon of vocabulary and linguistic weights that it's built. It can actually just read Hungarian, it can read Persian, it can read ancient languages as well. And so those are called emergent properties. And so something to keep an eye on in the next few years is that as these models get super, super large, with companies like Google and Microsoft competing to build the biggest models, we're going to find out whether new capabilities emerge or not. And so what I kind of put out there for you to imagine as a thought experiment is that it's a very different reality on this planet if we have chatbots that are as intelligent as us and they plateau. They're really smart, but they're not smarter than us. Then that's kind of a world sort of like, Data from Star Trek, where you have robot companions that are kind of like people, versus that the AI gets so intelligent that they just dwarf us in intelligence. And there's a lot to watch, and we'll probably see this within the next 6 to 12 months, a little bit of signs as to whether it's going to plateau or whether it's going to keep growing or not. So something to keep an eye on. Other little details that are good to keep in mind are that text to text, meaning where you type a prompt and then it generates a document, and text to image, where you type a prompt and it generates an image. That is completely solved now. The imagery that AI can generate right now is so convincing. It doesn't take a whole lot to create something that looks absolutely real. And the thing to keep in mind is that text to video is right behind. Now, I was just in Virginia this week, in Washington, D.C. for a conference, and the National Security Agency had a representative there talking about the concerns that they have from a security perspective, the intelligence community. And they were pretty concerned about the near-term possibility of deep fake technology disrupting our election cycle and causing groups of people to fight with each other because of the way social media can propagate these, completely false but very, very, very realistic stories about people doing terrible things. So that's something to think about. I hate the fact that AI is kind of a bummer this way, so I'm going to do my best to make it also, like optimistic and uplifting. But there are things to think about like that. The most important thing that I would like for you to know, if you're not aware already, is that in this last year, 2023, there has been the establishment of open source alternatives to the giant models. And what that means, I'd like to explore just 1 second more. I have a little graphic so that it's not all just bullet points. There, I found this graphic this morning and I thought that might get the idea across. So I chose the motif of gunpowder because that was a pretty transformative technology. And another thought experiment, think about what the world, if you were in the 1400s in Europe, for example, and then gunpowder arrived, and at first the king has it, but then over a few decades, the commoner has it as well. And think about how different our world has evolved because the gunpowder was a technology that was not controlled just by the elites. In the American Revolution, for example, and all of the gunpowder empires. In other words, it's a very different world if the open source models that are now downloadable and can be used by organizations like your own and like by governments and by small businesses, if you can build your own models, then you're not completely beholden to Google and to Microsoft and to Amazon. You actually can build a U of A chatbot. You can build a Commerce Authority chatbot. This is possible, and this is playing out right now. So it's also a very interesting thing to think about how the world's going to go. The last little bits I want to share about the AI phenomenon is that it's moving very swiftly. And just this last week, Amazon put $4 billion into a company called Anthropic. So now they're in the game. They're probably going to be a very, very large player in artificial intelligence services. Microsoft released something called AutoGen AI Agent, which is they made it open source, so it's not owned by them. And it is capable of automating the generative AI so that it has its own drives, which, again, this is why we need regulatory environment, but it makes it much more powerful. And then Google released size data on their new model. I want to show you real quick. I asked ChatGPT to help me with this last night, but I did a quick visualization of size to help you understand. So if this little black dot at the top is the compute size and parameter size of the ChatGPT that happened back in November of last year, this bigger dot is the size of the current cutting edge frontier model, which is the GPT-4. That's the one everybody's using, but this is the size of the one that Google's building. So that's where we're going in the next 18 months. And like I mentioned before, it's going to be really fun to watch, because does this giant model do things that we can't understand, or does it just kind of plateau as being a really expensive version of the GPT-4? And that's a question that will play out. The most important part that I want to leave you with is that there is the potential for acquiring an open source language model. There's a website called Hugging Face, which is quite popular. I'll pull it up. It takes a minute usually. And here every day, the most recent versions of these fine-tuned models are published in a shared environment, and you can have these for free. Many of them you can use commercially, not all of them, but some of them you can. And with that, it's possible to build a language model that has your company's information or your organization's information in it, and you don't have to give that information out to OpenAI or to Microsoft or to Google. You can keep it private if you want to go that route. So there's a new world of internet, or rather technology development, that is made possible by this technology. The thing that I think is relevant for our group today is that with all of this massive amounts of bandwidth coming into the state, at least potentially, there can and needs to be something that we can do with it. And I think that artificial intelligence will be very happy to soak up that bandwidth. And so that's why it's good to be thinking about it now. And just to wrap up, our strategy in this year and next is to continue outreach, continue holding public workshops and helping people understand what the technology can do. Again, the model that I just tried to explain, I wish that I had a graphic for you to make it a little bit more tangible, but this idea of building your own local model that connects to a larger model to get the best of both worlds is something that I'm very passionate about. And that's, why I chose a historical analog of a technology that if it's in everybody's hands, it's a different world than if it's in just, four organizations' hands. And so if you want to continue that conversation, I'm really happy to stick around and do that. And then finally, my last slide is that at the U of A, we are engaging to build our own local language models now. So this is something that the U of A is starting to do. I don't know that it'll be like the U of A model. It might be health sciences model. It might be research models, but this is beginning to happen. So it's a thing. And then the one that I'm most proud of and passionate about is the AI student internship dream that we have, which right now I'm calling it the LLM workforce or the LLM army or whatever. But we have so many students that are attracted to the University of Arizona for computer science and machine learning, data analytics, all of these kind of sciencey, mathy fields. They're all dabbling in or fascinated by or adapting to artificial intelligence. I don't have hard numbers yet. I imagine it's 1,000 or more students that are waiting to find. They're looking for a way to get into AI. And so what we're trying to build is an exploratory workforce where we would have students mentored within our institute in how to build these models, and then pair them up with organizations like yours, hopefully, that are forward thinking, ready to take a chance, like to work with students. That's really important, that you appreciate the value of mentoring people who are at that beginning stages of their career. to adapt to your environment, and then maybe kicking out this language model generative AI power at the state level instead of letting it just be a Google versus Microsoft thing. But like, can we distribute this out into the state of Arizona where people are willing to ready to play with it and learn how it works and put it to use, and productivity gains and entirely new types of work and products and services are possible with that student relationship. And so that's what I'm very passionate about. And then the last thing is that I was just in Washington yesterday, and when
Good morning. Hi.
Sorry, I'm just wrapping up.
We had somebody try to. Go ahead.
Yeah, when you're at the airport and you're looking at the ads on the TVs, that often tells you like where things are at, And Meta, the company Facebook, they're very big on this metaverse virtual reality education is a big deal for them. They were putting up a lot of ads for that. And I just feel, Steve, we talked about this, but I have a dream. I really like this technology, and I have a dream of seeing the metaverse technologies like telepresence, the ability to like, maybe it's just science fiction, but maybe we can turn Arizona into a workforce where people have so much connectivity in this state that they live here, but they work elsewhere, as in like Tokyo, right? They like telepresence through this technology. And that's something that I'm really excited to talk about. And I would be happy to connect with anybody on the call who has a similar dream of using that kind of technology to create like a workforce for the 2030 that leverages bandwidth and high tech. Okay, thank you. That's what I got. I hope that I didn't run over.
That was great.
If we have time, I'll do Q&A, or I'll just stick around and chat.
JT, you have your hand up?
I do. Of course, Steve, you know that. Ash, you made a new friend here today. And I just have a couple questions for you. Sure. But let me get my first and self-serving question out of the way. Where are you guys in terms of studying artificial intelligence as it relates to cyber safety and security? Do you have any programs like that?
We do. Yeah, we have two programs in the Eller College of Management. We have the Artificial Intelligence Lab. It has a cybersecurity program, and then also the College of Applied Science and Technology, which is called CAST, C-A-S-T, down at in Sierra Vista. It has a whole campus dedicated to that. In particular, they have a pretty groundbreaking operation I think it's called Cyberopolis, and it's a virtualized city that simulates power supply, utilities, traffic routing, social media accounts, people going about their days, going to Starbucks and things like that. And that's where it's like a cybersecurity training range where the students learn how to social engineer and hack into city environments. And it gets a lot of interest from Fort Huachuca. They're interested in that one.
Yeah, I could infer that, I think, from the location that you mentioned.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, the next question I have is your focus covers like different disciplines in AI. So you talk about large language models and generative AI, but you do also the deep learning and the machine learning and other aspects of AI as well. Is that correct? That's
totally correct. And it's a little bit of probably critique of how I present it, because I tend to focus on the generative AI because it has captured so much of the public discussion. But you're absolutely right. The artificial intelligence field has been researched for quite some time, and there's actually a lot of strength, as I think you're alluding to, at the U of A with machine learning and deep learning and the various neural networks and database storage techniques. There's a lot more to it than just the stuff that's going on in the news.
Okay, and then last question is, at the beginning of your talk, you talked about how we might have the LLMs are exhibiting emergent technologies, and there's a point of growth to which it becomes as smart as us. But there's a line probably between as smart as us and smarter than us. And some of your peers would suggest that once that line is breached, that boundary is crossed, then human beings are not necessarily the apex species on the planet. And I'm not asking you to expound upon that here, but I would love a discussion with you and your peers about that, particularly in the context of the existential threat that would seem to pose.
Yeah, well, we have made a new friend then, because I share that with you. I'd like to follow up with you. I can't say enough about what you just expressed. That, and in fact, I will tell you personally that it's like my own sort of mission. Why I got involved over the summer is because I do not want our society to lose sight of that fundamental discussion. That, wow, this is, what are we doing? This is big. It's not just productivity, right? It's like you said, are we looking at a potential of sharing our planet with entities, for lack of a better word, that are smarter than us? And can I follow up with you about that and chat some more?
Please do.
Yeah,
I will put my contact information in the chat box. So.
Thank you.
So Ash, a couple of things. One, this reminds me way back, Ray, if you're familiar with Ray Kurzweil and the work that he did and talked about singularity and singularity coming, and it seems to be here now. But the main thing I wanted to ask you about is, you've talked about, doing outreach and that sort of thing. Unfortunately, our representative with the Arizona Department of Education is not here. She's been out having some surgery. But it seems to me, and I know there's all kinds of different groups who are now emerging and talking about how AI relates to education and all of that sort of stuff. But at least my experience is that it's always helpful to have an organization in Arizona that can specifically work with the schools, the libraries, and others particularly to address this issue. And so I think it makes sense for us to have further conversation with you about your plans. I know you're focused a lot at the university right now, but to also do outreach, if I understood correctly, mostly to the industry. But I think that whole education community is all struggling with how do they deal with this. And I would think your institute could be a great
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Yes, the task that I'm working on right now is defined as industry, but like what JT just brought forward, I just don't feel that there's any limiting the scope of this, and there's no good reason to. So education, government, I also, I think other sectors, I don't like the balkanizing quality of trying to get things done that way, because it's an expansive technology. So I appreciate what you said, and I would just follow up by making it clear that, like, reiterating that the real passion that I have for it is that I've worked with our young programmers and student coders and developers and marketers in the last 5 years with great success. And I really believe in youth. I really, really believe in youth. So if we can get young people mentored a little bit and out working, they have the ability to pick up the reins. And we also need them to pick up the reins a little bit, because this technology is moving a bit faster than we can keep up with it. And so I have a soapbox that I keep under my desk. I'll get off of it in a second, but it's that I believe in youth. We should believe in youth, and they really can do it. And that's the way forward as far as I'm concerned. So I don't see limiting that to industry. It's just that right now that's the slice of the pie that I've been asked to tackle.
Great. So a couple of quick things. Reggie, you're still online. So you're out working with the schools and students, and of course you work for Microsoft, which knows a little bit about AI. I don't know if you have any thoughts about what's happening right now and your experience with the students and schools and so forth these days.
Yeah, I was just gonna message in the chat. Just on an admin level, there is interest of teaching teachers, especially how to utilize it, because we are seeing, and this is from a board perspective, our students are already using AI, just like you said, right? And our teachers aren't laggards, but the professional development isn't there. But to help our students become more enthusiastic and learn about this. So if you do have any connections, I'd love to bring anyone out from U of A to some of our schools at the high school level or at the elementary levels.
Excellent.
Total, we're working with 35 schools
Mhm.
here in Arizona, and that, so we'd love to any type of opportunity you have to connect you to one of our schools.
That's fantastic. Let's follow up because we have part of our ICDI it involves a group called the Data Science Academy, and that's exactly what that is. It's an outreach K-14 outreach. So I'll be really happy, Reggie, to follow up with you.
And Steve, in our courses we offer, it is AI that we support too, but a lot of our teachers that we work with are barely on the introductory level, computer science, learning like coding Python. And so not too many of our teachers are, sorry, my dogs, not taking, utilizing the AI courses we have and teaching our students. So that's not a priority area yet for our schools that we're working with.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh, sorry.
Should I go or did somebody else have something to say? Sorry, Ash, we've actually launched a company that's using AI right now. We've got, I'm sorry, we're at the very beginning stages of that operation. We haven't hired most of the programmers yet, but we have 2 of them that are leading on the project. We've seen that our estimated development time went from 3 years to 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
That's currently what's in our roadmap. But we will be hiring developers over the next 3 to 4 months. So if there's, if the school has some kind of a job placement program,
yeah,
please forward that information to me.
So Rory, you do want to tell him quickly who you are and, so that he can put that in context, please.
My apologies. So my company is a wireless internet service provider. We provide internet over terrestrial microwave across the state, wherever we're from Grand Canyon to Nogales. We are working on 2 simultaneous projects, one internal and one for a new company that will be completely based on AI applications. The first one's started development actually Monday of this week. So if you can, it's for, I apologize. I can't really tell everybody what's going on yet. It's still obvious, but we will be doing hiring in that area if you have referrals for us to people to talk to. Most of those hires will probably start after the first of the year.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And what's the name of your company, Rory?
Triad Wireless.
Triad Wireless.
One of the people leading the project we just hired is a new graduate from ASU. So
okay,
computer science.
That's great. And is your contact information in the chat by any chance?
My apologies, but I'll just send it to you right now.
That's great.
So also just a reminder, Ash, that after this meeting, sometime in the next couple of days, I send out a follow-up to the meeting that will have all the people who register with their contact information and so forth also.
Awesome.
JT's point when we brought up the security issue. So as an ISP, obviously we see a lot of traffic. And JT, I don't know if you're still on here, I can't see, but we're seeing AI attacks already where we're seeing basically low-level, easy attacks as a primary, and then notice that we're getting hit harder in other, mostly port addressing, obviously. But we're seeing different, they're basically doing faint and move attacks. So it's getting really, and they're getting hit so fast, we're having to address it at the CPU level on the routers.
Are they?
I'm sorry. That's part of the reason why I asked the question is because I mean you can understand how, as Ash explained, we're getting more and more creative with AI.
Right.
I mean, that's for good and for bad. I mean, the technology itself is neutral. Is how we apply it. And if the black hats are using AI, then certainly we need to be able to defend ourselves with equal and superior technology based on AI. So I mean that would be the objective, because we want to be safe, right? We want our children to be safe, our families, our economy, our nation, and our planet, in fact, to be safe. I'm off my soapbox.
We need to end this conversation, and perhaps we have another meeting or a separate meeting, because this is a big issue, lots of issues going on, who do and what to who and all that kind of stuff. So it will be certainly for us to continue dialogue with Ash and how we can best partner and work collaboratively together. But I do want to we're just about out of time, but I do want to take some time. Cindy, do you want to give a quick update? You're muted.
Yes, sure. Yes, so we have some things going on for Digital Inclusion Week, and I posted the Arizona events can be found on our website, and there's a link there, and then the second part of the chat. We're also having an interesting guy from the 4-H Tech Changer program in Nogales, Arizona. He's a fellow that took on teaching digital literacy and has helped 3,000 older adults with digital literacy in the last 2 years. He's coming to speak with us on October 5th at 11 o'clock, and I put the link to the registration there for everyone to look at. We're combining that with a meeting, with an open house meeting with our group, the Arizona Digital Inclusion Network. That happens from 12 to 1. So if you stay on the call, you can hear what ADIN is all about. And Mignon Hollis is going to be speaking at that on October 5th to tell us about Arizona Broadband for All and how we can become involved with that coalition. So that's what we have going on next week for Digital Inclusion Week.
Thanks, Cindy. Aaron, do you have any updates? I see Mala's not here today, but do you have any updates?
Mala is actually in the middle of a presentation about disaster response in libraries right now, so that's why she's not here. We had a really successful event at the Tuba City Library this last week, Thursday. We were up there helping support the kickoff of their the availability of the telehealth equipment at that library. And there was a whole health fair with a ton of resources local to the Tuba City area available for the community members there. There was a group of folks signing people up for ACP, and I believe they got 5 families all registered and ready to receive benefits at the event, which is fantastic news.
Aaron, can I interrupt 1 second? Can you please just tell people who you are?
Of course. I'm so sorry. I should do that.
Well, most people know you, but we do have.
No worries. So I'm Erin Lorandos. I work for the Arizona State Library. I am the digital inclusion library consultant there, and we work with many people in this space here across the state, around digital access and inclusion, as well as in the telehealth space. We have a program where we provide funds to libraries who are interested in having telehealth equipment in their spaces. And Ed, I'm not sure if you saw in the chat, but I would love to talk about the connection with the dementia care and resource, because that's something that we hear a lot about in libraries. So I would love to connect with you on how we can kind of cross-pollinate that information. But the telehealth in libraries program it's kind of moving out of its pilot phases into a bigger expansion in this next year. We started out with Pima County Public Libraries, 2 locations there in Arivaca and Ajo, hosting the equipment, and they really helped us kind of figure out some of the logistics and help us through the pilot of that program. And now it has expanded, and so this year we put the materials in the Flagstaff Coconino Library District through the Tuba City Library, and then we continue to expand as well. And so that event in Tuba City this last week was kind of like their big kickoff with their equipment, and we continue to grow. And let's see, what else? Digital Inclusion Week, Cindy did a great job talking about some of the things that are happening there. The state library is supporting our libraries in the state with programming opportunities, ideas that they can just kind of take and run with if they're interested. That information is available on the Connect Arizona website, which is the website for our Digital Navigator program, if you're unfamiliar with that. And I'll drop a link to that in the chat in a moment. And I believe those are all of my updates. Yes, I'll pass it back to you. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Aaron. So I'm posting in the chat. Janet Major sent me a note. She couldn't be here today, but she has 3 events coming up, and I'm going to post those in the chat for you to be able to find that. And then just a reminder, and you'll get more information. Unfortunately, she had to drop off. We had a representative from the governor's office was here earlier this morning, that as we've announced before, that the governor has created a task force, and there's going to be different breakout sessions for breakout groups for people to participate in. And I've posted that before in our information, and I will post it again. And there is opportunities for you to sign up if you want to be a part of any of those teams. So I will get that information out to you also. And with that, is there anybody else has anything else that they want to share this morning? Hearing none, I think we're about done for today. So I'm going to stop recording, and if anybody wants to stay online and chat, you're more than welcome to do that.